So what I plan to talk today about is two different projects that we've been working on for the last couple of years, which look into the massive swaths of big data that are coming in from the mobile ecosystem. So over the last 4 odd years, I've spent a lot of time working on different aspects of mobile, such as mobile advertisements, looking at effectiveness of mobile marketing, coupons, quantifying the value of mobile commerce, and also looking at issues like interdependencies. And some of our previous speakers talked about the fact that we often are getting exposed to ads on a PC, and then we end up buying it on a smartphone, or vice versa. Okay. So what I'll do today is talk about two of these projects, one that looks at location-based advertising, and the other one that looks at the cross-channel dependencies between mobile and PC. Okay. The first one is essentially going to involve very granular data sets where we track individual users across millions of observations, and this is highly granular atomic data sets. And most of my research encompasses working with companies across 4 or 5 countries, such as Germany and the US, of course, South Korea and China. So what we have been doing is working with these companies and looking at every second-to-second interaction that we have with our devices. That creates a trail of data, and we try and put it all together. So some of the questions that we got earlier from Joel, for example, about how do you track the same user from device to device to device, from channel to channel to channel. Some of my work in China and South Korea, we're actually been able to get a fair bit of success in doing that. So I'll walk us through those projects too. So the first project is joint work with my friends from Germany, Martin Schmann and Dominic Molitor. And what we are trying to do here is look at the effectiveness of location-based services. Okay, so this summer we had this marketing science conference in Turkey, and some of you in the room are actually there. So one of the things we were doing was we were looking at, well, how do I find the right restaurant that's close enough to where I'm right now? There's also giving me a good deal, right? So I'm looking at price to value comparison. Maybe somebody's giving me a discount. I'm also looking at the distance. Okay? So what we are trying to do in this project is essentially look at, so if you look at this map, if you can read German, you can look at the screenshot, and it says there's a bunch of price offers here. And on the left side, you would see that some of these have distances measured as well. And these are real-time distances based on GPS data. So right now, based on where I am, this is a third-party app that's able to sense where I am, and it then sends me targeted offers, right? So this is a few kilometers away. This is increasingly in terms of distance. It's rank ordered in that way. You also have another possibility where there's information on the discounts, but not so much information on the actual distance. Okay? So our sort of interest in this study is about trying to look at the effect of distance and rank. And in the past, we've done a fair bit of work in this space. We are able to look at the effect that distance between a user and the nearest retail store has on their purchases. In some separate work on search advertising, we looked at the effect that ranking has. So the topmost slots, for example, get the highest number of clicks, but they're not necessarily most profitable. And then there's some increasing literature on mobile marketing, and we'll also hear one of our speakers, Shuming Liu, talk about this afternoon. So this study essentially combines the literature on the geography of the internet with primacy effects and effectiveness of mobile coupons. Okay? So it's really 3 simple questions. One, what is the effect that geographical distance, real-time distance between the user and the store has on the likelihood of the user responding to these mobile coupons? The second is, what is the effect of the rank itself, right? So if a mobile device is a really small device, so the topmost slots become even more valuable. So one of the things we are trying to quantify is the effect that rank of a presented offer has on our propensity to redeem it. And then third is, how is the discount likelihood? How does it vary with the actual coupon category itself? Okay. So I'm personally very interested in causal interpretation. So one of the things, if you are interested in causality, is to run a bunch of randomized experiments. So what we did here was in several different cities in Germany, starting with Frankfurt, then moving on to Hamburg, Berlin, and so on. We worked with a large number of retailers who would then work with the app developer and start offering their deals on this app, right? So the idea is you can go to the Apple App Store or the Android platform, download the app, and if you have the app open, then as you walk around in the city, depending on where you are, you start getting these offers, okay? So what we wanted to do was we said, okay, so the way to think about this would be in the standard treatment and control groups, except that here you would need multiple control groups, right? Because you can imagine the fact that somebody might want to redeem a coupon because the price offer is extremely good, so a very high discount value to it. Or somebody might redeem a coupon because he or she is closer to the store, okay? Or both. And so we really want to sort of disentangle the effect that the rank of the coupon has with the location in real time and the price of itself. And so that's why we started looking at multiple control groups and treatment groups. Right? So in one case, you would have one group that would see, for example, the information sorted by distance with the distance information given. So like, for example, here, these are all distance information in a few meters from 50 meters to a few hundred meters. Another group would actually see randomly sorted deals with the information given. Third group would see randomly sorted deals without the information given, and so on and so forth. Okay? And so as you compare the baseline with each of these treatment and control groups, you start getting a feel for how does distance matter? How does rank matter, and so on. Okay? So summary stats were the following. We had about 4,000 participants across these cities, and we had about 4,500 different coupons from all the retailers, and these included very small mom and pop stores to reasonably medium-sized establishments as well. And the observation period was about 14 weeks. And so we got about slightly over 354,000 observations across these guys. Okay? So I won't get into the details, but essentially we ran a bunch of choice models here. And really the main question of interest is the propensity to redeem. Okay? So when I get this coupon, what are the various factors that drive my propensity to redeem the coupon? Okay. So we are looking at, for example, real-time distance between the user and the store. And in our prior work, we had also seen that linearity is not the only effect. You've got to control for nonlinear effects as well, because as you move from 10 meters to 50 meters, the drop in propensity is not the same as you move from 100 to 150. Right? So there are these nonlinear effects you've got to worry about. Same with rank itself. When you move down in order of the screen from rank 1 to rank 2, the drop in clicks is not going to be the same as you go down from rank 8 to 9. Okay? So you control for linearity and nonlinearity. You look at the various kinds of categories. Are there coupons from bars or cafes or fitness stores, wellness stores, etc. Time of the day, expiration, how long was the coupon valid. And so once you run these, we start, essentially our intent here was not so much, aha, surprising results, but more so the quantifiable analytics, right? So we start getting these findings. So for example, if you increase the discount by €1, so this is in Europe and Germany, so everything is in euro, that has the same effect as purchase propensity when you decrease the distance between 83 and 210 meters, right? So the idea is, how much of a discount should I give to incentivize a person to come to my store, right? And so depending on whether it's a bar or a fitness store or a restaurant, for example, we see that the distance varies between 83 and 210 meters is the equivalent of giving a discount of by €1, right? So if you're a retailer, you can start looking at these numbers. The second was, how does the drop in rank, right? So if you're ranked number 1, right, there's going to be a very high likelihood of people at least looking at your offer, versus if you're ranked number 8, somebody has to scroll down, and we all know increasing that below the fold, the propensity for people to look starts getting really lower and lower. So we started looking at the effect of rank as well, and we see that if you were to improve your rank by 1 unit, that tends to increase redemption by the same amount as if you were to increase the discount by between 2.25 to 3.1 euros and so on. Okay? And then finally, there's also this interplay between rank and distance itself. And so again, this is just a subset of the findings, but I just wanted to share this with you to give you a sense for the kind of analytics that one can get out of this. And now we are going to go back, and we are working on the process of actually implementing these with many of the retailers. So we would actually have them do these experiments as a follow-up, and then go back and look at the effectiveness as well, right? So we come full circle after that. The second thing I want to talk about was our mobile path to purchase, right? So again, the previous panel talked about the fact that we often move from smartphones to tablets to PCs and back and so on and forth, right? So a recent Yahoo survey shows something like 69% of us start our session on a mobile device and then follow up on a PC. But there's also a non-trivial amount of us who start on a PC and then move on to a mobile device. So how many of us have seen this video? Okay, right? So if you've seen this, if you haven't seen this, you should go and see this. This video went viral last summer. It's the famous South Korean singer Psy. And who made a ton of money out of this? Well, Google, right? So Google made $6 million in 3 months just with one video. And the idea was every time you saw this video, you would notice some ad over there, right? And of course, once wasn't enough for me, so I saw it on the PC, and then I started looking at it again a couple of days later on a tablet, and of course I had seen an ad again, right? Sometimes it would be the same ad, sometimes it would be a different ad. So my sort of question, and this is joint work with Sang-Pil Han and Sung-Hyuk Park, we were really intrigued by the fact that oftentimes you see the same ad on 2 different devices, okay, or 2 different channels. And so the question is, what does that do to our purchase propensity? One sociologist predicted that one theory would say that if you see the same ad too many times, you get annoyed. It's kind of has this detrimental effect on you, so you are not likely to buy that product. Okay? The other theory says that, well, there's a reinforcement effect, right? So you see the same ad twice on 2 different channels or 2 different media, it triggers this reinforcement effect. So in some prior work, we had looked at similar questions, and we saw that whether, when we looked at paid search and organic search, we saw this strong reinforcement effect. So if your ad shows up here, or your listing also shows up higher, the combination of sum of the parts is actually greater than the sum of the whole itself. So similarly with display and search, we saw that when you have ads, display ads on the same platform, and then when you have paid search ads, again, that creates this positive purchase propensity. So we are really intrigued between web and mobile ads. So if I saw the ad first on PC and then I saw the ad again on the mobile device, what does that do, right? Why this was important is because mobile ads often get a bad flack, right? Every now and then you hear the straight press report or some study that says mobile ads don't work. But it turns out that's actually only a part of the story because oftentimes we miss on the fact that mobile ads can lead to clicks on the mobile device, but the final conversion might happen through the PC, right? Or it can lead to a click on the PC and then the final conversion happens through mobile. So there are these important and interesting spillovers that's useful for us to quantify. And if we only look at attribution through one channel, you really don't get the whole story. So those of us who work on digital attribution, you can imagine why this becomes useful. So we said, all right, so again, because I'm interested in causality, let's go ahead and work with companies to run these experiments. So this was a project in South Korea where we worked with several different retailers. And a common requirement was for us to be able to track the same user on across multiple devices, right? So when I open my session on a smartphone this morning and I go back and buy the product from a laptop in the evening, I should be able to track that. So we wanted to work with retailers who could do this, and one of the ways to do this is through obviously email registrations. Okay? So one of the companies we started working with was a digital products retailer. It's the largest in South Korea. It's also one of the top 3 in the Asia Pacific region in terms of revenues. So over a 6-week period, we ran a bunch of randomized experiments where we would basically manipulate the ads that show up for a variety of digital books, or e-books as we call it. Okay? So the idea is digital products or these e-books are sold both through the web and the mobile channels. And we would basically manipulate and randomize the ads that a given user will get to see. Okay? So this is what the platform looks like. When you log in, you get to see a bunch of ads for products. This could be ebooks or audio products, etc. We focus on ebooks as an example. And so when you log in, you would get to see these ads for these books. And whether you log in through a web channel or the mobile channel, again, you would get to see the same interface. Okay? So what we wanted to do was, over this 6-week period, we basically manipulated the ads that showed up. And this is how we did this. So on a certain week, when a user logs in through the web channel, he or she would get to see 10 ads for those 10 products only on the web channel. So if I logged in right now to the web channel, I'd get to see those ads. But if I logged into the mobile channel, I wouldn't see those ads. Okay? So that was week 1. Week 2 was, for example, well, the same user would log in and get to see the ads on the mobile channel. But if I logged in through the PC, I wouldn't get to see the ads. Week 3 was, well, let's make them available on both channels, right? So we let them see the ads, irrespective of whether they log in through web or mobile. And then week 4 was, of course, the baseline. So we repeated this experiment multiple times. We also reversed the order, because somebody, you could think about that. If you see the ad once first on mobile and then later on web, that might make a difference too. So we reversed the order of these randomized channel groups as well. And so we are essentially looking at clicks and conversion, right? Why you need an individual level analysis or user level data is because, look, you can say, ad quantity might make a difference. If I see 2 ads on the web channel and 1 on the mobile, and then I might end up having confounding results. So you got to control for the fact that you should have the same number of exposures on both web and mobile for a given user. You can have carryover effects. I see an ad today, doesn't mean I buy it tomorrow. I might buy it 2 weeks from now. So again, if you have individual level data, then you can control for potential carryover effects. And there's obviously issues of consumer heterogeneity as well. So here's what we find. The weeks where we only allowed the web ads to be on versus both web and mobile ads to be on, you see that there is a non-trivial improvement in click-through rates, right, from 1.18 to 1.15. Similarly, with the mobile channel, when only the mobile ads were on, and versus what web and mobile were on, you see this big leap as well. Okay? So click-through rates seem to have this very clean reinforcement effect. Conversion rates, there's an interesting story here. For web, we see that, yes, compared to the weeks when only web was on, when you allow the ad to show up on both web and mobile, there's a high increase in conversions. With mobile, though, there's actually a small drop, right? And so this is what really interested us. So what was really going on over here was that people were getting to see these highly targeted ads on the mobile device. They would click on it, which would obviously increase their click-through rates. But many of them ended up buying or downloading the product on the PC or on the laptop. Okay? And so if you saw the story only from one side, I would make the erroneous conclusion that mobile ads don't work, but really they are working, because mobile ads are often driving sales through the other channels. Okay? Sales overall, good news is no matter how you spin it, the overall market is increasing, so the pie is expanding. Okay? So even though there is some crossover between web and mobile, the overall effect of ads on this market is unequivocally positive. And we see that whether or not we compare the web and mobile with mobile versus web and mobile with web. Okay? So what comes out of this is, right now we are going back to those same companies, and we have a model now that would actually be able to tell us, okay, so what are some possible guidelines out of this, right? So one of the retailers came and said, well, I have $10,000 to spend in a week on web and mobile. How do I allocate my budget, right? So our model currently is able to offer some of these guidelines where we can say, all right, so based on the cost per impression, or if it's a cost per click model, how much money should you put on web and how much should you put on mobile in order to optimize your profits? Similarly, with the retailers in Europe, we are working on dynamically generating these offers and then giving them, looking at the trade-off. So if I am 80 meters from the store, you give me a 10% discount, what's the propensity for me to redeem it? Versus if I increase the discount and reduce the distance. So these are essentially some of the insights and the analytics that we are working on from these projects. And that's about all I have to say. Okay.